League of Legends has one of the widest skill gaps of any competitive game on the planet. At the bottom, there are people who genuinely do not know what a minion is. At the top, there are people who can 1v9 a game of professionals while explaining out loud exactly what's about to happen 4 seconds before it does. And the wild part is, every single challenger player started at the bottom too. Every one of them was once a confused first-timer accidentally recalling in the middle of a fight. So today, we're mapping out the entire climb. Not just the ranks, the actual evolution of a League of Legends player. How you think, how you play, how you talk to your teammates, and how badly you tilt at every single stage of the journey. These are the 7 levels of League of Legends. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly which level you're on, whether you like the answer or not. Level 1. At level 1, you are functionally a baby deer that has just learned to stand. You've downloaded the game, sat through a tutorial that explained maybe 10% of what you actually need to know, and now you're being thrown into a lane against 8 other champions with names like Kai'Sa and Vel'Koz that you cannot pronounce, let alone counter. At this level, last hitting is a foreign concept. You walk up, you auto-attack the minion wave like it personally insulted you, and you wonder why your ADC is screaming at you in all caps. Your death recap screen is basically a highlight reel of you standing still while getting hit by 3 different abilities at once. You flash into the enemy team instead of away from them. But here's the thing about level 1 players. You're actually having more fun than almost anyone else on this list. You have no expectations, no ego, and no idea that the game even has a meta. You just want to hit the big red button that says Ultimate and see what happens. Genuinely respectable energy. The Iron Player's motto, I don't know what happened, but it was really cool. Level 2. Somewhere around level 2, something clicks. You start watching a YouTube videos and suddenly you know words like C's, trading, and wave management. You understand, in theory, what you're supposed to be doing. The problem is knowing and doing are 2 diff things, and you are standing directly in the middle of it. You now know last hitting matters, so you try to last hit, and completely ignore everything else happening on the map while you do it. You buy a ward. You place it in the single worst bush in existence. You know flash is your escape button, but you still hit it 2 seconds too late, every single time, like it's a personal tradition. This is also the level where blame starts. Deaths in level 1 were just funny accidents. At level 2, deaths become someone's fault, usually the junglers, who apparently never ganks, despite this being your 3rd game today, and your 2nd time even seeing a jungler exist. You're not bad because you don't understand League anymore. You're bad because you're trying to do 6 things at once and your brain can currently only load 1.5 of them. Level 3. At level 3, you've genuinely improved. You can last hit reasonably well. You know most of the champions. You've got a main, maybe 2. And critically, you now believe with your entire chest that you understand this game better than the 4 strangers you just queued up with. This is the level of the confidence. You have just enough game knowledge to sound completely correct in the pre-fight, and just enough gaps in your actual decision-making to be completely wrong in the fight itself. Level 3 is also where the classic hard-stuck mentality lives. You genuinely, sincerely believe you deserve a higher rank. Every loss has an explanation that isn't you. A bad jungler, a Wi-Fi hiccup, an ADC who just doesn't understand positioning. You will not consider, even for a second, that the common denominator across 400 games might be sitting in your own chair. This is just what happens at the exact point where mechanical skill has outpaced self-awareness. It happens to almost everyone. LVL 3 isn't a skill level, it's a state of mind. Level 4. Something shifts here, and it's not really about mechanics anymore. It's about effort. Level 4 is when you stop playing League casually and start playing it like it's a part-time job you volunteered for. You're reviewing your own replays. You're watching VODs of streamers who are better than you, not for entertainment, but for homework. You have a notes app somewhere with matchup tips in it. You are, unprompted, tracking enemy summoner spell cooldowns in your head during fights. This is the level where blame finally starts pointing inward, at least some of the time. You lose a lane, and instead of immediately typing something regrettable, you actually pause and ask, what did I do wrong there? That single habit is the real dividing line between everyone below this level and everyone above it. Your champion pool tightens. You're not a whoever looks cool player anymore. You have 2 or 3 champions you know inside and out, and you're deliberately learning a 4th to counter a specific matchup you keep losing. You've started caring about wave states, about tempo, about why your jungler is doing what they're doing instead of just being mad that they're doing it. You are, for the first time, playing League of Legends instead of just playing in League of Legends. Level 5. Level 5 is where League of Legends stops being a game you're good at and starts being a game you've trained for. At level 5, your mechanics are no longer the bottleneck. Your macro is. You're tracking the enemy junglers pathing off 2 ward pings and a gut feeling. You know exactly when to group, exactly when to split, exactly when a 3-for-1 trade is actually a win even though it looks like a disaster on the scoreboard. Your CS numbers are the kind of thing level 1 players would assume were fake. This is also, statistically, close to the top of the entire player base. You're outperforming the overwhelming majority of everyone who has ever installed this game. And yet, and this is the cruel joke of Diamond, It feels harder here than it did in gold, because now everyone around you is also trying just as hard as you are. There's no more free wins off someone who doesn't know what a ward is. Every single game is a genuine fight. Diamond players don't tilt the way level 3 players tilt. It's quieter, colder, a controlled, focused kind of frustration because you know exactly what went wrong, down to the second. That's almost worse. Level 6. By level 6, League of Legends has stopped being a hobby in any traditional sense. It's a discipline. Some of these players are streaming for a living. Some are grinding toward an academy or challenger team tryout. All of them are playing an amount of League that would be, for anyone else, deeply unhealthy. And for them, it's Tuesday. At this level, decision-making happens faster than most players below can even perceive it happening. Objective timers, vision denial, item power spikes, enemy cooldowns, none of that is conscious calculation anymore. It's instinct, built from literally thousands of games. A level 6 player can look at a minimap for half a second and know something is wrong before the actual gank even lands. This is also where the game gets almost eerily quiet, communication-wise. No panic, no caps lock, just short, precise calls, because everyone in the game already knows what's happening, so there's nothing left to explain. You are now, functionally, watching people who could beat you in your sleep, blindfolded, using only 2 champions you've never even seen picked. Level 7. And then there's level 7. And honestly, at this point, calling it the same game as level 1 almost feels inaccurate. This is Faker. This is the entire challenger ladder. The pro scene. The players who show up at Worlds and make $30,000 decisions in half a second, under a spotlight with millions of people watching live. At this level, players aren't reacting to the game. They're several steps ahead of it. They're not asking, what should I do right now? They're asking, what does the enemy team think I'm about to do, and how do I make them wrong? The mechanics are a given. That's the entry fee, not the differentiator. What actually separates level 7 is game sense so refined it looks like clairvoyance. Baiting a flash with a fake all-in. Recognizing a losing fight from vision that hasn't even revealed the enemy yet. Making a call in champion select before the game has even started that quietly decides the outcome 25 minutes later. A level 1 player watching a level 7 game doesn't even fully understand what they're watching. It's not that the plays are hard to execute. A lot of them, mechanically, aren't. It's that the reasoning behind them is completely invisible unless you've climbed far enough to see the game the way they do. This is the ceiling. This is what every single Iron player, whether they know it or not, is technically capable of reaching, because every one of these players started exactly where level 1 does. They just kept climbing. So, 7 levels, from a player who doesn't know what a minion is to a player who can read your mind before you've made a decision. The honest truth is most of us live somewhere in the middle of this list, and that's completely fine. The gap between every level isn't really talent. It's ours, honesty about your own mistakes, and how badly you actually want to close that gap. Let me know in the comments which level you're currently on, and don't lie, we can all tell from your match history anyway. If you enjoyed this breakdown, drop a like, subscribe for more League content, and I'll see you in the next one.